Hello everyone, and welcome to another lore video for my webcomic work in progress, Knights of the Five Realms. It's been a while. I've been pretty busy lately, mostly with music stuff. If you're not already familiar, I am involved with several music projects, including my band Path to Bantry, which you can check out here. All the social stuff will be on screen. I also go full-time to music school, so that takes up a lot of my time. However, I am going to try and maintain this channel a little bit better, and maybe even get some newsletters out here and there to make more updates in regards to the progress on the comic. There will also be a link in the description where you can sign up for that. I was also really busy getting ready for HanabiCon back in May, which was great. It was the first time they've put it on, and it was my first time exhibiting at a con as well. I actually sold a good bit of my artwork, so big thanks to everyone who came out and bought a piece. Also, big thanks to the organizers who put this thing together from the ground up and organized to get such wonderful guests up here. My booth was right in the aisle with the 4 voice actors, and they were all super nice. I'm really looking forward to seeing where this convention goes in future years, and hopefully I'll get to exhibit there again and see more people and get more people interested in the comic. Anyway, let's get on to the video. Today I'll be talking about the Grass Elves, one of the 5 elf kinds in the story. But before I do, please hit the like and subscribe buttons, leave a comment, and if you have a question about the lore, I'm happy to answer it. If I don't have an answer, I will come up with something and you'll help me fill in some gaps. That'll be mutually beneficial, so let's get right to it. This video is actually going to be part 1 of 2, because the history of the Grass Elves can't be told without also telling the history of the Sand Elves. These are the 2 most closely related of all the elf kinds, with a shared lineage leading back to a now extinct people group dubbed the Steppe Elves by their descendants, and they did not split off until after arriving in the northern continent. Therefore, we must go back in time to when all elf kinds dwelled in the south. As I mentioned in my last video on the history of the sprites, there is a clade that is formed with them, the Grass Elves, and the Sand Elves, which has come to be known as the First Elves. Legend tells us that the first elves arose in the Forest of the Gods, tracing their lineage to Lilith, the mother of elves. Whether this is true is widely debated in the modern day, as little written history from this period has survived, and because few journey as far as the southern continent to discover its secrets. Whatever the case may be, the first elves diverged in 2. One population stayed in the forest and would become the sprites. The other would take to the open grasslands of the elder steppe, thus earning them the name of the Steppe Elves. The elder steppe had 2 rivers running through it, the names of which are not recorded. Thanks to this, the steppe had fertile soil and was rich in plant life and game, nestled in a valley between 2 great mountain ranges. The Steppe Elves lived originally in a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, living nomadically across the valley and hunting deer, aurochs, wild horses, and antelope, as well as wild pigs, goats, and sheep. Later in their history, they learned to farm these animals as well as wild grains, and built the beginnings of a civilization. How long this lasted, and how advanced this civilization became, is unknown for the same reasons I mentioned above. There is no written record from the first elves until the arrival of the sprites in the northern continent. Caveat: there are similarities in their writing systems that indicated that a written language existed long before this. However, that's a subject for its own video. It is also not known when the Steppe Elves diverged from each other, nor when they first migrated out of the southern continent. It is unknown which of the Grass Elves and Sand Elves is more similar to the original Steppe Elves, or if they are equally derived. It is known that the cities of Avem and Nail are both currently ruled by Sand Elves, with tradition holding that the cities were discovered abandoned, and that the Sand Elves restored them. This has led to the theory that the Grass Elves descend from a segment of the population that continued north after the cities were settled. Whatever the case may be, by the time both elf kinds arrived in the northern continent around the year 15,000, they were already distinct from each other, and the singular cultural identity of the Steppe Elves had already been forgotten. The Grass Elves traveled up the western coast of the continent, bypassing the sands entirely. They came in several caravans, creating a startling and sudden increase to the population of the Greenplain region in what was then the Golderond Empire. With most towns and cities in the area already crowded, many of the lords of Golderond argued against allowing the Grass Elves to stay. However, King Honoroclusis II allowed the immigration to take place, setting aside 2 swaths of land south of the Green River for the Grass Elves to use. These would become the towns of Seaview and Rivermon. Things would be peaceful for some time, as the Grass Elves assimilated into their new home quite well and contributed to Golderond's farm economy by growing grain and manufacturing textiles. They even adopted the Grey Elf religion of Triarchism, a subject for its own video. However, several events over the course of the centuries created a recipe for conflict. Much of the early strife was actually centered around the territory that would become Greenplain, so will be discussed in more detail in Part 2. But generally, this involved land disputes between the Sand Elves and Grey Elves over the southern territories, particularly Narrow Isle. Due to the Crown's actions in these many disputes, there was increasing rhetoric amongst the Grass Elf tribes that Golderond should be separated into several kingdoms, and many rebel groups sprung up amongst the Sand Elves against the Crown. While King Onagar II ruled, Golderond attempted to quell these uprisings with diplomacy, yet when he died and his son Unraligan II became king, he did not hesitate to wade into battle. It was at this point that the Grass Elves and Sand Elves formed an alliance that was able to defeat the Golderond Empire, and they divided its territory amongst themselves. Greenplain had everything north of the desert, east of Epicria, and south of the mountains. They built their capital upon the ruins of Eileen, the former center of the Golderond Empire, and they called it Spire City after the 13 great towers of the royal palace. The new kingdom, Greenplain, is an elective monarchy. After the first king, there would be a chosen heir who would be allowed to rule for 1 year before going up for a vote of the people on whether they shall be allowed to continue. This has resulted several times in a change of Greenplain's ruling house, with the current House of Valian having the longest continuous rule. The kingdom is currently ruled by King Criscavane and his wife Carolgwyn, and they have 3 children, Crown Prince Herica, Prince Cainwyn, and the young Princess Caista. It is here that we meet another member of the story's main cast. Prince Cainwyn, the middle child, is an eager student of his realm's history, particularly its legends and unknowns. He is curious and energetic, with a spirit for friendly competition. He is skilled in the outdoors and is a sure shot with the bow, as well as possessing a strong sense of honor and loyalty. In the story of Knights of the Five Realms, he will join Princess Angelina on her journey. Thank you for watching. The next episode will cover the history of Goldenplain's Sand Elves, the other branch of the Steppe Elf family. I'll also probably post a behind-the-scenes progress update in the near future as well. In the meantime, don't forget to do all the algorithm stuff, like, comment, subscribe, you know the drill, and I will see you next time. Bye! The Grass Elves traveled, and many rebel... Things would be peaceful for some time, as the Grass Elves assimilated into their new home quite well, and contributed to Golderond's farm economy by Oh my god.